It's coming up to 25 past 8. Now this, juicy this one, isn't it? One of the most infamous crimes in British history, and it's remained unsolved for more than 500 years.
We're talking about the murder of two young princes, Edward and Richard, in the Tower of London. Here's how the historian Lucy Worsley tells what is a reasonably well-known story.
500 years ago, it was in this very building that the two young princes, Edward and Richard, were last seen alive. After that, they disappear from the historical record. I'd like to know if they were murdered. And if so, who was responsible?
Well, one potential way to find out more about what happened that night would be to forensically examine the prince's bones, which are in a crypt in the Tower.
Yes, the Queen had always resisted that idea, but there are suggestions that King Charles is more open to considering it and perhaps would like an investigation to go ahead. Let's talk to Professor Tuuri King, who's Professor of Genetics at the University of Leicester. Morning to you, and thank you very much for talking to us this morning. We said that they're the prince's bones that are in a crypt, but I suppose we don't actually know that they are the prince's bones, do we?
That's true. They're in an urn in Westminster. So these are a set of remains that were found when they were doing renovations of the Tower of London. They're not the only bones that have been found there. They were doing these renovations and they were throwing things onto a spoil heap. And then somebody went, ooh, they might be the princes in the Tower. And then 4 years later, they're put into an urn in Westminster. And I mean, people have asked me about this numerous times. It's the question I get asked the most whenever I give talks. Could we do an analysis of the remains? And I have always said that if this was going to happen, you would want to do a very calm and measured scientific study. And that would involve examining the remains osteologically and, having a look at them and seeing if you can see any evidence for any, wounds or anything like that, determining whether or not they're skeletal remains of the boys of about the right age. And that involves things like sexing the skeletons, which is notoriously difficult to do. And the really important thing is that some of the analysis is destructive. And so you would want to do that at an absolute minimum and stop at any point where you go, right, okay, this tells us it's not the boys. So the first thing you would do is radiocarbon dating. So radiocarbon dating would tell us if these are not within the right time period, then you would simply stop there because you don't want to do any more destructive analysis on human remains. If it's looking like these are skeletal remains of the boys about the right age and radiocarbon dates come back as properly looking right, then you do things like stabilized but also genetic analysis. So you could tell whether or not they're siblings. We've got DNA from Richard III or the data from that. And so we could do genetic analysis to see if it matches such that we would expect seeing as those princes were his nephews. But it's not going to tell us who killed them.
I suppose that the question now is, it's in the gift of King Charles. How optimistic are you that he will allow this to be done?
I mean, I don't know. So it's him and I understand the Dean of Westminster, and they both have to agree. And that is obviously something only they can answer.
Very interesting.
It is interesting. Tuuri, thank you so much.
Yeah, let's see what happens.